for years, I wore getting 4 and 5 hours sleep like some kind of strange, weird badge of honor. Like, oh, I
Right.
can outwork everybody and I'm going to do all this work before anybody else gets up. And, for probably 25 years, I did that. And, I mean, God, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm convinced that every night that I did that, a new gray hair popped up. So I probably would have nice dark hair here had I not done that.
I must have missed a lot of sleep.
So I'm paying the price.
Yeah, we all are, brother. All right. Welcome. We are here. We made it. Episode 5, Thrive AF, Thrive After 40. I am one of the hosts, Keith, and I am here with my good friend, Lou Fratto. Lou, say hello to the Thrive Nation.
Thrive Nation.
That's
All
the
right.
name, official name of our audience, debuting in this episode, Thrive Nation.
It's turned into a nation. That's awesome. All 20 of our family and friends.
Hey now. The growing
hey
Thrive
guys,
Nation.
I'm Lou. Yes. Hey, I have five in a row now we've survived.
That's right. Going strong. It's a machine.
Well, wait,
Unstoppable.
not only survived, we've thrived in 5 of these.
Exactly. Now you're getting it. Yeah, so we got a big episode today. We're going to talk about one of the levers from your book, Thrive, a physical therapist's guide to longevity, which is the full title. I memorized it. Which is going to be a good conversation. But before we get to that, it is kind of a special day, and I wanted to recognize the fact that yesterday was your birthday.
Hey,
So,
all right. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Lou. Sorry I couldn't be there to celebrate with you. But how old are you?
57 now. So one more time around the sun.
There you go. Nice. Did you have a good birthday weekend?
Yeah, it was really good. The my daughter and my wife give me free reign of the television on my birthday weekend, so I was able to watch some stuff that they typically would probably have, kiboshed. So we watched.
What an honor!
Yeah. So in honor of our whole thriving as we age, we watched Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Rear Window.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, such a good movie. And when you think of it, it was in the 50s, right? So how many years ago? That's like 70 years ago.
Yeah.
This movie and just how cutting edge it must have been for that time frame, the things that they did with the camera and all that stuff was really cool.
Fantastic film. Good one. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good weekend.
Yeah.
So, before we jump into the episode, though, I have a birthday gift for you. And it is not a physical gift since we're not in the same location, but the best I can do, but I think you'll enjoy it. So it comes in the form of a story that I want to tell, and it is a recent story, not one from our past. But one of the things that we have been talking about, the reason why we started this podcast and the Substack, is because we want to hear from audience members and we want to help people make changes and make positive changes in their lives. So I have a friend, his name's Brian Markowitz. So shout out Brian. He is a regular listener to the podcast. So he is a OG member now of Thrive Nation.
Nice.
We hang out together, his wife, and we are members at the same pool. So we're often together. And he told me that he's been listening to the podcast. And this past week, he told me while we were hanging out at the pool that he was talking with his adult son, who is a upcoming mover and shaker living in Washington, D.C. So he's a young adult making his way in the world today.
All right.
And his name's Jeffrey. So shout out to Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey.
And
if you're watching.
Yeah, maybe he will when he finds out we're talking about him.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brian said he was talking to him and Jeffrey was kind of hanging out on the couch and finding it hard to get motivated. He said, I want to go to the gym, but I'm feeling kind of tired. And Brian said that he said to Jeffrey, on Keith's podcast, they said that you never regret getting up and going to the gym. You never feel worse after working out. And those words came from your mouth in one of our episodes. And Jeffrey said, you know what, Dad, you're right. And he got up off the couch, and I'm told he actually went to the gym and worked out. So
Nice. Oh, man, that's awesome.
yeah, so my gift to you is to let you know that the things that you're doing and that we're doing here are making an impact. And those words, that wisdom came from you into this medium, into the ears of one of our listeners, who then transmitted it to his son, who took action. And
That's
we're all about taking action. So that's my birthday present to you. Let you know
hey,
you're doing good work, man. This means something. So
Hey, you too, man. This would not have happened without you. We've said this before. There's a lot of people who talk about doing podcasts and they have no clue how to start or what. And that was me too. And
same.
but kudos to you for figuring all this stuff out, especially all the technical stuff and the editing and then putting in all the hours that it takes to do this. I mean, it is not easy. It's a lot of work to put
Yeah.
something this incredibly professional out there, and so I mean, I say that kind of jokingly, but it is, it is coming across as way more professional than I ever thought I could have ever mustered up without you. So, thank you for that. And thank you, Jeffrey, for getting up and working out this morning. And then thank you for the feedback. And I have to say, and if Jeffrey hears this, look, I had to drag myself to jujitsu this morning. It was at 7 o'clock. And in all fairness and honesty, I did not get a good night's sleep last night. And this podcast is on sleep. I literally have
Perfect.
been up since 2:30, right? So
Yeah.
I'm here to say that I struggle with this stuff too, and I didn't want to go, and I was feeling a little stressed about, oh my gosh, my brain isn't going to be working for the podcast. I really should stay home and study this stuff and make sure I can articulate in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you know what? I've got to practice what I preach. Going to jujitsu and working out will make me feel better, and I'll actually, benefit from it. And so I literally dragged myself there and left there feeling so much better than when I went in, and so glad that I went. So
Yeah.
I struggle with it often,
Yeah. Well, you got to
So,
fight through it. All right. Okay. So now we're going to get into the actual meat of the episode and start talking about sleep and the sleep lever. And before we get into it, I know I keep interrupting here, but I did want to say that when we first talked about doing this episode, I was kind of dreading it
yeah,
because I felt like I really didn't have much to add. And that's because I didn't really think about sleep or have a strategy for, I just thought it was something that you do. And the thing that changed it for me, and now I'm really looking forward to this conversation, is one, I read your book. Two, you sent me a podcast about the topic that I was able to listen to because I went on a camping trip and I had about an hour and a half there and back in the car. And I listened to that podcast and I had a chance to really think about it. And that podcast was the Brian Kane Mental Performance Mastery podcast from March 22nd.
right.
Very, very good conversation, kind of nerdy, but also just really interesting. And then I came back and I reread this chapter, Sleep, from your book. And
Yeah.
it was like light bulbs kind of went off for me on certain things that we're going to talk about. So with all that build up, Lou, drop the science. Talk about it.
Yeah. So I kind of let the cat out of the bag already and said, well, it's about sleep. And it is a lever in the book, and it is extremely important, and it's something that, again, I need to be totally honest with, I've struggled with for a lot of years in trying to get it right.
Yep.
Um, and as I said before, you could argue that any one of these levers or any one of these things that we're going to be talking about over these podcasts and that we've already talked about is the most important. And Matthew Walker, who wrote the book, Why We Sleep, I'm confident would argue that sleep is the most important lever or the most important aspect of your overall health and longevity. So it's just a really important topic. And
Yeah.
it's something that, we it's a struggle to get it right, but we ought to at least be working towards it, you know?
Yeah. No, for sure. There's podcasts about falling asleep and there's gimmicks and there's gadgets, there's techniques. But, to me, it was kind of some of the topics that you talked about in the book that really, like I said, turned that light bulb on and got me thinking about it kind of differently. So
Yeah, yeah,
what,
yeah.
I guess, what are some of the things that, I, if you have chronic sleep deprivation, what is it doing to your body and your mind and your overall life experience?
Yeah, right. So that's one of the reasons why it's really important is if you are chronically sleep deprived, then you're more apt to get obesity or have obesity. You're more apt to get diabetes, cardiovascular problems, depression. Your immune system gets weakened, and also basically a reduced lifespan. So if you look at it that way, you want to get it as right as possible so that you can avoid all those things. But then there's a lot of positive things that occur while you're asleep that largely occur while you're asleep and not while you're awake. So you have to get the good sleep, the quantity and the quality of sleep in order for these processes to take place. And so that's the other side of the coin as well.
Well, talk about how the thing that really changed for me was think the mind shift between passive and active. Um, so can you talk a little bit about what that means or, how people should think about sleep in general and shifting the mindset from this is just something that happens to something I can actually control, not control, but have a strategy for.
Yeah, so you and I when we were talking I think last week, you said it perfectly. You said, wow, the light bulb, one of the light bulbs that went off for you was that sleep is an active process. It's not a passive thing. And it is so true. And like said, there's a lot of important biological processing that occurs largely while you're asleep. And it takes 8 hours for all this stuff to really occur. So if you don't get the quality and then the quantity of the 8 hours of sleep, these processes, I guess that's the word, can't take place, you
Yeah.
know? So for instance, your hormones get regulated, your memories get integrated, your skills get assimilated, your the physical damage gets repaired, injuries get help to get repaired, regeneration occurs. I mean, there's just a ton of stuff that goes on while you're asleep, and then your immune system gets kind of reprogrammed as well. So all this stuff has to take place for you to have, for you to perform the next day, and then also for you to have, health and wellness, and then longevity as well.
One of the studies that they mentioned in that podcast about the way people process information and the impact that it has on learning overnight was a complete eye opener to me. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember the details of that specific study, but I found that one was really interesting if you can recall it.
Yeah. Well, just basically in general, that's why the quality of your sleep matters as well. So, when you're in deep sleep is when your hormones get regulated, so your brain and your body looks at, okay, do we need to increase this and decrease that and try to balance everything out. But in your REM sleep is where your memory gets consolidated. So you basically go over your things that you're, either studying or things that happened to you during the day before, and your mind and nervous system decides what you're going to keep and what's worth keeping and what's not worth keeping. And
Right.
so you need that stage of sleep to basically assimilate your memories, and skills that you're learning too, by the way, physical skills
Yeah.
get assimilated while you're asleep. So it's
Right.
really amazing when you start thinking about all that stuff. So I'll have people in the clinic and, physical therapy, one of the reasons why physical therapy is an art as well as a science and why it takes a lot of years to kind of really get a good grasp of it for a new physical therapist is it's about movement. You have to be able to spot somebody who's not moving correctly and then teach them how to move correctly. So when people are trying to learn new movement skills in here, and we'll practice, practice, practice. I'll tell them when you come back after a night's sleep, it's, you're going to be better. And it's always
Yep.
the case. They need that night's sleep to process it.
Yeah. And
It's
I think,
really cool.
yeah, it is.
Amazing. And then remember the part where he was talking about the MMA fighters, and these
Yeah.
are guys that are, like, cramming all these skills at the last minute before an upcoming fight, and they would learn a skill in the morning, go home, take a nap, and then they found out if they did that and then come back, they already had mastered the skill better than if they didn't take the nap in between, so it's just crazy,
Yeah.
amazing, you know? Makes you
Yeah.
question all the all-nighters that we pulled in college, you know,
Yes.
with no sleep.
Yeah. Right, right. Yeah, the absolute, like, opposite of how you're supposed to, absorb information, but
Yeah.
sometimes you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, I have a small personal example of last week. My older son is in a dance group, and they had a showcase this weekend, and so they were doing nightly practices to, do that final cramming, and he came home one night and was kind of frustrated because he said, "We're not getting it, we're not getting it." And I had listened to all this stuff and read your book, and I said, "You know what? Sleep on it. I bet tomorrow it'll be, you'll go back." And sure enough, he said the next night he came home for practice, and I was like, "Did you get it?" He's like, "Yeah, we nailed it. Like, we're gonna crush it." And they did. So
Oh, that's awesome.
it's like a little thing, again, like, it just kinda just has changed the way that I think about the value of really trying to, um, think about sleep and be a lot more strategic, about how we approach it. Um, so hygiene, I guess, is one of the major things we wanted to talk about. So, do you want to go through some of the things that fall into that sleep hygiene category that maybe people can take and start to think about and use?
Yeah, so, given that it's so important to get a good night's sleep, it's like, okay, how do you do that, right? Well, they've
Right.
done, a bunch of research and they've come up with the things that if you do will give you the best chance. I mean, again, we're all a work in progress, but and
Sure.
then yeah, and they call it sleep hygiene. So one of the things that they say about that is, and this word comes from Brian Johnson. He calls it um digital sunset. So basically, 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed, turn off all electronic devices like your phones, your computers,
Hmm.
laptops, iPads, even your TVs, and then a lot of the lighting that we have in the houses now because it emits blue light. And so, blue light, if you think of your mind and your nervous system as a snow globe, it kind of stirs up that snow globe, right? And then
Hmm.
if you turn that stuff off an hour or two before you go to bed, it allows the snow globe to settle and give you a better chance of falling asleep. Then you want to be consistent too. Try to go to bed around the same time because we're creatures of habit, and then your brain will start to realize, okay, this is the time I need to go to bed and go to sleep.
Right.
And then you want to also try to have your room cool and dark. And the research says in the 60s is the best, 60 degrees. I know that's like really cold for a lot of people and
Yeah.
probably way too expensive, but cool and dark. And
Yeah.
you want it dark, but then I have to intervene and say, as a physical therapist, not so dark that you're going to fall and trip, when you're going to your going to the bathroom or whatever.
Yeah.
So don't make it
We forgot
too.
our disclaimer.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. We should say
Not medical advice.
this is not medical advice. It's only meant for educational entertainment, hopefully entertainment purposes. And
Right.
then no food also 3 hours or so before you go to bed because you don't want your
Hmm.
body sitting there churning and burning while you're trying to sleep. And then
Yeah.
caffeine, try to stop that by 3 p.m. For me, that's noon because I'm pretty sensitive to it.
Yeah.
So,
About the
and
same.
then yeah, and then a comfortable mattress makes a big difference too. But
Yeah.
something I forgot to say and something we've kind of been talking about is you need to I think the first and foremost thing of getting a good night's sleep is prioritizing a good night's sleep. And we can
Yes.
kind of tie that into our little topic sometimes that we talk about with synergies between levers because that's basically mindset. So if you have the right
Yep.
mindset towards sleep, you're likely to get a better night's sleep. But for years, I wore getting 4 and 5 hours sleep like some kind of strange, weird badge of honor. Like, oh, I
Right.
can outwork everybody and I'm going to do
Hmm.
all this work before anybody else gets up. And, for probably 25 years, I did that. And, I mean, God, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm convinced that every night that I did that, a new gray hair popped up. So I probably would have nice dark hair here had I not done that.
I must have missed a lot of sleep.
So I'm paying the price.
Yeah, we all are, brother. No, I think the other thing that you had told me previously is that thinking about sleep as kind of the start of the next day, not the end
Yeah.
of the current day, was a nice little mind shift as well. Because really what you're doing is giving your body a chance to rejuvenate and recharge and do all the things it needs to do so that you're going to be ready to go the next day. So just another
Yeah.
kind of small thing to think about.
Yeah, I thought that really hit home for me. It was like, oh, okay, it's actually the start of the next day, and it made me really, really wanna prioritize it and
Yeah,
think
no, I
that way
agree.
for sure.
Um, there was another piece of advice that came from the discussion we had, or that I listened to was, and this has kind of changed things for me, is that some people have trouble falling asleep. Other people have a problem of waking up a lot during the night and kind of getting the mind going. And for me, where I was losing some sleep was I would wake up in the morning, say my alarm was set for 6, I'd wake up at 5 or 5:30 and just decide to get out of bed because my alarm's going to go off in an hour or 30 minutes. And one of the things that they talked about on that podcast was to maybe, and I've been trying this out, is to not give in to that urge and just try and meditate or do deep breathing, because there's benefits to just being in bed for those 7.5 to 8 hours, even if you're not actively sleeping. If you can try and calm your mind and do some exercises, that you actually get some of the same benefits of being asleep.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kinda like the opposite, with that. Have been, focused on sleep now for, several years, and I can have the opposite effect. That can have the opposite effect on me. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, which I always do, 2 or 3 o'clock, my mind is ready to go. It feels like it's totally refreshed and that I could just get up and be fine, but I know better because if I get up, then I'm dead the next day when the day
Right.
rolls around. So I have to quiet it down, but one of the things that used to happen was I would, stress out about it and kind of catastrophize because I'd look at my clock and say, "Oh, man, I only have 2 hours left before I gotta get up. I gotta get back to sleep," and that would just keep me
Yeah.
more awake. And so, and I have to give a shout out to my buddy Cliff because I was talking to him one day a couple years ago, and he said, "You know what? I wake up every night too around 2 or 3," and he goes, "I don't fight it." He goes, "I just." Now what he does is he gets up and he putzes around the house a little bit, and then it kinda calms him down, gets him out of the mind, racing, and then he just goes back to he calms down and goes back to bed and steals another
Wow.
2 hours before he gets up. So, I started thinking, "Okay, well, maybe that's just my rhythm, that's my circadian rhythms, let me just go with it." So when I wake up now, I don't get up like he does, but what I figured out that's working for me is I read a book basically with an amber book light. So I bought this amber book light. It was like 12
Mhm.
bucks on Amazon so that it's not blue light. And I just lay there and I read a few pages, maybe a chapter. And the book is good, but it's not so good that I don't want to put it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and then that gets me out of my sort of pattern racing in my mind. And then
Yeah.
I meditate and it allows me to go back to sleep. So I can usually get back to sleep in about 45 minutes. So, which is
That's
way
pretty
better
good.
than it used to be.
Yeah. But that's, shifting from that passive to an active mindset around it is what you've done. Try to find like a strategy that can get you back to sleep. Try different things. I know my wife has some trouble waking up, and she found a podcast that is literally just boring lectures about
Yeah.
like biology and things that
There
would
you
put
go.
you to sleep if you were in college. And she's like, "Yeah, I put it on. It actually works pretty well. And you never know, I might learn something about planetary bodies and rotations while I'm sleeping."
Our apologies to all the biology teachers out there.
Yeah, that
Sorry.
was just an example. I love biology. Math is a different story.
Yeah, exactly. We have a story about that, you and I.
Yeah, we do.
We'll save that one for a different time.
Yeah, that'll be in the mailbag episode. Um, So you mentioned circadian rhythm. Is there anything else you want to talk about that? I mean, I think most people kind of understand what that is, but anything in deeper
Yeah,
that you want
no,
to go?
no, that's pretty much beyond the scope, I think, of this podcast. But basically, that's where going to bed at a similar time and trying to wake up at a similar time every
Yeah.
day. And also the timing of your meals plays into it. And so because your body works on a rhythm, and you just want to
Mm.
try to stay in that rhythm and not go out of it.
Yeah.
So that's all I want to say about that, really.
Okay. And I think something I heard or either read in the book, I can't remember, was that that's different for everybody. And it's
Right.
not just day and night. I mean, you finding out what your rhythm is part of kind of strategizing and trying to figure out, what should my hours be? And then how can I get it within that 7.5 to 8 hour window or whatever that might be. So it could be
Yeah,
different for
right.
different people. Do you want to go deeper at all into specific sleep stages, like REM stage, why that's important and kind of what it is?
Yeah. Well, so the REM stage is where your memories and your skills get assimilated. So basically, REM stage, you could think of it as the software update. So your brain is going through a reboot, if you will, to help you remember stuff and categorize stuff and learn skills. And
Mhm.
then the deep sleep is where your body is repaired. So I think we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. Your hormones are all balanced out and your regeneration and tissue repair occur in the deep sleep. So that's why, you want to get good quality sleep as well. So you want to hit those two stages. Otherwise you're not optimizing your repair and your, learning and
Right.
mental performance.
Gotcha. And then the 7 to 8 hours or 7 to 9 hours is pretty much the standard of what people should shoot for when you think about that
Yeah.
80/20 rule, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, and then so you have to do the math, right? So if you're shooting for 7 hours, that doesn't mean that you're in your bed 7 hours because the average person, they're asleep 80% of the time that they're in the
Mhm.
bed. So you have to then be in bed a little bit longer than 7 hours, figuring that part of that time you're gonna be awake. So that it equates back to the 8 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I think that makes sense. Um, okay, cool. Um, I don't know how, like, comfortable you are talking about a topic like HRV. But I know it's something that has I've started to pay a little bit more attention to because it's one of the things a fitness tracker tracks. But what's your comfort level in talking about that topic? Because I know it's something they went deep in and on that reference podcast we talked about, but I don't know if you
Yeah.
did deep research on it.
Yeah, I've kind of been playing around with tracking my HRV for a long
So what is
time.
HRV?
So it stands for your heart rate variability, and it was actually invented by the Soviets, and they were basically using it when they were training their cosmonauts to go up in
Mhm.
space. So I give them huge credit for inventing this, but basically, you have two parts of your autonomic nervous system, and your autonomic nervous system is the nervous system that works behind the scenes. It makes your heart beat, it makes you breathe, it makes you blink, that kind of stuff. You don't really have to think about it. So the first part is called the sympathetic nervous system, and that has a nickname, and the nickname is um, fight or flight.
Okay.
Okay. And the second part of your autonomic nervous system is your parasympathetic system, and it has a nickname, and it's rest and digest. And ideally, those two systems should be balanced, right?
Okay.
But most people in the Western world, especially our country, we run around heavily dominated by our sympathetic system, fight or flight. Oh my God, I'm in a hurry. I got all these things I got to do. Oh my, that guy just cut me off in the lane, and I've got all these
Mhm.
goals and stress, 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 right?
Yeah.
And so our sympathetic system is way up high and revving heavily, and our parasympathetic system, which should be equally balancing out the sympathetic, is really low and underperforming, if you will.
Yeah.
And so, I guess when the Russians were developing this, they really they formulated a way to put a score to it, basically. an objective score.
Okay.
And so the way that it works is if you take your heart rate, and let's say your heart rate is 60 beats per minute, okay? Um, the sympathetic system, when it's more dominant, is going to make your heart rate increase and be faster. And the
Okay.
parasympathetic system, when it's more dominant, is going to slow your heart rate. And so most of our heart rates don't beat exactly on the second in perfect rhythm because sometimes the sympathetic pulls a little harder and increases it, and sometimes the parasympathetic pulls a little harder and decreases it. And theoretically, then, based on the whole HRV thing, is if they're equally pulling with equal strength, then you're going to have higher variability than somebody who is more, say, sympathetic dominant, where it's just boom, boom, boom like this.
Okay.
Um,
So a
yeah. So
higher HRV number is actually better.
yeah, well, it's in general, yes, you want your HRV to be higher. It means you're in better balance because it means that both systems are pulling at equal strength. But a healthy person is going to sometimes have a lower HRV because, like you said earlier, sometimes you just got to push through some things. You've got a upcoming project, or maybe you're, training for some kind of physical thing and you're pushing yourself pretty hard, or you're feeling good and you
Right.
want to push yourself. So then your HRV should drop. And then other times you're going through recovery and you're kind of taking it easy and your HRV should increase. But in general, yes, the higher, the better. Yeah.
Okay. And I've noticed with the fitness tracker that I'm wearing that that seems to be the main thing that it looks at when it is trying to, develop a recovery score and to some degree a sleep score. So
Yeah.
that's good to know. Like, cause I've heard, on that other podcast, they talked about it in quite a bit of depth, but it didn't really sink in for me. I mean, I just look
Yeah.
at it, on the fitness tracker and it says, oh, your HRV is this or that. And that kind of indicates, that you haven't slept well or that you did sleep well. So maybe it's good to get into it a little bit deeper. So thanks for that explanation.
Yeah, no problem. Then when we talk about the the technology lever as well, we can get more into it. But one of the things that's important too is those trackers, they just work off of algorithms, and so
Right.
you look at trends more than just single data points.
Right.
And if you're trending in the right way, hey, you're doing something right. If you're trending in the wrong way, you got to figure out, hey, what am I doing wrong here, and try to correct
Yeah.
course. You
Yeah.
know,
You told me a story when we did kind of a pre-show call about another uh, study I think they did that was all about telling people about how they slept actually impacted the way they felt. Do you remember that?
yeah. And I wish I would have. I wish I'd have the
I'll
actual
put you on the
study
spot.
and study in front of me because I would want to give them credit. I think it was Ellen Langer, who's the lady that did the
Yeah.
counterclockwise study where she put the
I will
old
find
men.
it. I'll find it and
Yeah.
we'll put a note and a reference to it in the show notes.
All
But
right, cool. I think it was her, but it was amazing because they took a sleep tracker and they modified it. So they had people sleep and then they had the tracker tell them that they slept worse than they really did. And they tested them. They tested them pre prior to that, and then they tested them after being told that they slept horribly, and they scored poorly on these tests. And then sometime after that, they came back again and they tested people beforehand, and then they had them sleep, and they modified the tracker to tell them that they had a great night's sleep when they really didn't. When they really didn't. So they had them biased towards a positive sleep and they tested better, even though they
yeah,
had a poor night's sleep. So it's such a mind game,
right.
it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, obviously there's a physical component to, being tired, but I think it kind of shows that the 80-20 rule actually makes sense because
yeah,
there are times when you can, basically push through it. And it's a mental and it's a physical game, I guess, to play. But that's why one of the reasons why maybe it's so complicated and there's such an industry built around trying to just let people sleep, get some sleep,
yeah,
some
I
good
know,
quality sleep. It's
I know.
crazy.
Yeah. It's a in thing now.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we're We're, I think, at about 40 minutes. That seems to be the time zone that we try to get to before we move on. But before we do, is there anything that you want to talk about or that we want to talk about that ties this idea of sleep consistency and sleep hygiene specifically as it relates to longevity? Was there anything, in your book or, talking with your health heroes that makes you think about, why it's important from a longevity perspective versus just a general, health, fitness, and happiness?
Yeah, well, I think that they just know that if you're chronically sleep deprived, it just the health factors that we talked about that you're more susceptible to, it just shortens your
Mhm.
life. As back to Matthew Walker, who wrote the book Why We Sleep. He has a quote, and this will be probably a paraphrase, not gonna be word for word, but it's the shorter your sleep, the shorter your life. I mean, he goes
Oof.
that definitive into it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is like it just, it puts all this pressure to get a good night's sleep, and then it stresses you out. So it's this whole thing of balancing, and it's tough.
Yeah. But also like again back to mind shift, like realizing that you can come up with strategies and you can shift from a passive to an active way to think about it that may give you some peace of mind. And you know, your book, and then I'll definitely link to this podcast because um, for me, it was like I said, a huge eye opener. It made me feel better about the way that I feel
Yeah.
about sleep. And because it is such a mind game, maybe that's just making me sleep better because I feel like I've taken a little bit of control of something that I haven't really thought about being able to impact that much. I just thought
Oh,
it was
right.
what it was, So
Yeah, you can definitely have some control over it. That the doctor that he interviewed is Doctor Kirk Parsley, by the way, and
yes.
he is a Navy SEAL physician. So he was a Navy SEAL and he went to medical school, and it is a really good podcast. The guy
Yeah.
had a really great way of explaining things, and yeah, it's a good podcast for sure.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Well, there's nothing else on sleep. We can move into the next segment of the podcast. And usually this is where we talk about synergy,
Yeah.
but we're going to switch it up
All
this
right.
week and we're going to introduce a new section. And because now we have Thrive Nation, our thriving, growing audience of people. So we're going to do some shout outs.
Nice.
Um, all right. So I'm going to start. And these are a combination of things that we've heard directly from people, but some of them also are comments that people are leaving on our Substack. So I guess before we start, please, if you're listening or watching this, checking out our content, leave us a comment. You can do it on YouTube really easily. You can subscribe to our Substack and put a comment there. One of the shout outs we're going to do is from a comment that somebody left on Substack. We would love to hear from you. Um, and you could also email me directly, Keith at thrive-af.com, and I will get your email and comments. So reach out and let us know. So the first shout out I want to give is to actually an old fraternity brothers of ours, Tim Crowley. You remember
Nice.
Tim? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Tim.
Yeah. So I texted him about the podcast a while back, and he texted me back this week and said he was all caught up. And this is a question that he had actually, or he actually pointed something out that I hadn't thought about, but he said, you guys talked about nutrition, but you didn't talk about the effect of alcohol and
Mm.
really at all. So I told him that we're not going to cover that today, but maybe we'll bring that up in a future episode. So I thought that was a good point. We hadn't
Very
really
good.
talked. I told him maybe we should talk about it next time we get together and we can talk it over a couple beers.
Exactly.
So thank you, Tim,
Yes.
for reaching out and let us know that you're listening and giving us that comment. So, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so I want to thank Brandon Fields. He is the founder of Old Bones Therapy, and I reached out to him just to let him know that I realized I was wearing his knee brace in the picture that I used for the entry returning to jujitsu at the age of 56. It's one of the, for those of you who don't know, it's one of the articles that we have available for you to read on the Substack. And it was just a coincidence. I noticed I was wearing his brace, and I said, "Hey, by the way, you might find this interesting. I'm wearing this brace, and I know he's also into the same things that we are, and he developed his company to help people to continue to do the things that they love as they age, just like we did. And he wrote a great comment underneath that article, and so I just want to thank him for that. Really
Oh,
appreciate it. He's the founder of that company. Thank you.
that's awesome. And we'll put a link to his stuff in the show notes as well.
Yeah,
So
cool, awesome.
yeah, awesome. That's really cool. All right, the next one comes from another old fraternity brother, my little brother Walker. I just wanted to shout out Walker White, because he created our logo,
Yeah,
which really looks a lot more professional, but B, because he has given us some feedback in email that he's listening to the podcast, and it's been inspirational for him to kind of get back into going to the gym. And he was asking all kinds of questions about nutrition and supplements. And I know you guys had a good back and forth on that. So
yeah,
thank you, Walker, not only for the support from your graphic design skills, but for digging into the content and for letting us go what's going on in your life. And
awesome.
yeah, probably a future podcast guest once we get into season 2.
And remember all those awesome T-shirts that he designed for us when we were in
Yep.
college?
And
Maybe he can
banners.
help us. He can help us with our first Thrive AF T-shirt.
You know it, man. We're gonna hit merch at some
This
point.
time we have to pay him though.
Ah, shit. Well, we'll figure that out. Maybe we already gave him a shout out, so that counts for
That's worth
something.
a lot with Thrive Nation.
Exactly. The thriving nation. Um, and then we had a couple other birthdays too. I think Danny Weber, our old
Yeah,
fraternity
Danny.
brother, shares the same birthday as you. So happy birthday, Danny. I
Right,
hope you are listening. Chiropractor to the stars.
right.
And
Melbourne,
my
Florida. Look him up
that's right.
if you need your back worked on or your neck. Yeah,
Yep.
Danny, Dr.
Great
Danny.
dude. My former roommate, future podcast guest. So Danny, Dr. Danny, you're on the list. And my friend, our mutual friend, Joe Owen, actually, his birthday is today. So he's a listener as well. So happy birthday, Joe.
Awesome. Happy
Um,
birthday, Joe.
hope you're enjoying it. Oh, and then the next one, this one came in just today. So my old friend, Brian Dame,
Yep.
who I've done some camping trips with, we've been friends forever, actually texted me this morning because he is, as we record, in the middle of a Thrive AF outdoor adventure. He is in Lake Placid with his family,
Whoa.
and he decided to go by himself on a solo canoe outing out to an island and camp by himself
Whoa.
overnight. Yeah. And he texted me this morning because he thought it was gonna get rained out. But shout out Brian for doing the right thing there, and he's
Wow.
out there by himself. So respect. So
Mad
yeah,
respect. You guys that go on those camping trips solo, man, that's another level.
yeah. I mean, bears,
Yes.
wolves, raccoons,
Yeah.
all those animals at one point may have lived in that general area, and he's out there
And he's
by
out there.
himself.
And if you've ever been camping, the weirdest noises happen in the middle of the night. It's like, what the
Yeah,
heck was that? That was the
yeah.
weirdest, weird
Oh
things
well,
screaming in the middle of the night.
I'm sure that he'll. I mean, he already sent me some pictures, so we'll do an article on the Substack about it because he's got a pretty
Perfect.
cool setup. He actually camps in a hammock. So
Oh, nice. Our old friend Mike Sturdivant could swap stories on hammock.
yeah, for sure. Brian
Campers.
is a cyclist as well. So
Oh man, yeah, they could hang out.
indeed. So I think that was the last one. So shout out to everybody. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say about my friend Brian Markowitz is he actually has people in Delray Beach,
Oh,
family. Yeah, so he
sweet.
spent some time there. So maybe he can send some of his folks your way
Yeah, or
if
just
they need anything.
or if he's in town, we can have a beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really good dude. So,
Awesome.
all right. Well, that was fun. Well, hopefully, again, keep the comments coming. If you can, either directly to us, send them an email, reply. We love them. We want to read them. We want to feature them on the podcast and talk more about it, share stories, and subscribe, to our stuff and like it and keep Thrive Nation going and growing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. Got any closing thoughts?
No, basically just, well, the if I was to say one thing, it's,
Yeah.
and you said it beautifully, it's just know that sleep is an active process and it is the start of your next day. So that night before is super important to the following day. And if you think of it that way, it's easy to prioritize it for sure.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Cool. All right. Are we going to try the sign off?
Yeah, let's try it. I'm staring at my little cheat sheet here.
Yeah, I got mine too. All right. Ready?
Yeah. Wait, maybe we should sleep on it and try it again. We'll do better.
Classic.
All right, ready? Go.
Right. Until next time,
Keep challenging yourself
keep growing and
keep thriving.
thriving. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that was horrible, but at least we
blew
know
it.
the words now.
Yeah. Well, we'll get it
Should we
next
try
time.
it again, and then you can cut the first one and put in the well-plastered one?
Yeah. Let's try and make it a little smoother.
Why don't we wait like a count of 3 before we say the last one? So can I do this?
Yeah, you can do that.
All right. Okay.
All right. Ready?
All right. Ready?
All right. Until next time,
Keep challenging yourself
keep growing,
and
keep
keep thriving AF.
I didn't know if it was a go on 3 or what.
Oh, man.
Hey, we'll get it.
Yes. We probably should practice it, but...
That would help. Then we get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Hopefully we didn't put anybody to sleep with this one.
Hey, you never know. That might be the whole point.
Exactly.
All right, man. Thanks, Lou.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate it. We will see you next time.
All right. Thanks, Keith.